or the leaders in the industry are already working on it, how they would be doing this transformation. And while this transformation today is happening, it's more about the readiness and the renaissance or the collaboration that we'll be doing with our clients. So today, this transformation that is being worked on upon is to recover, of course, from today. How do we reboot our business? The second step is how we are ready over the next 1 year's time. Things are very dynamic. We will be ready in the next, so how we are ready. And then moving forward, what's actually required over the next 15 years or so. So that's a very dynamic transformation which all our industry leaders are working upon. It's a good situation to be because it was unprecedented, the first time ever, and this transformation goes with a future back approach. Like industry leaders especially in our sector, we've understood quite well that with this unprecedented situation, and the industry has done really, really well. On-site services sector in the last 2 decades, there's some great companies, one of the biggest companies and listed in the top 100 Fortune companies in the world, companies like Sodexo or Compass, Aramark. So these are great companies. And they did a lot of work in the last 2 decades. But we understand really well that what we did in the last 2 decades might not be very relevant going ahead. So it's a very future back approach that is being taken by the leaders to work on a strategy which will be relevant to all the industries and their requirements at their workplaces over the next decade and a half, over the next 15 years. So what we do in the next 1 year needs to be relevant over the next 15 years. So that's how dynamic and that's how a future back approach that the leaders are taking. So again, the last is 3 areas which I really think will play a major part in this whole transformation exercise. Is our sector will be very, very focused on our people, really focused on our people, because it's for the people that we work and it's by the people. That's to get in a little bit of constitution in my talks. Humans would want to know that they matter and they are being cared for. For customers, our customers, this means listening, understanding, and adapting to the shifting behaviors and values and needs. So that will be very centric in our transformation exercise. The second is innovation. Innovation is the key word in our business now. We will be very innovative for all our clients, all our workplaces, what we do for them. Come on, I mean, today we have a Lamborghini or a Ferrari converting their plants in Italy, making face masks and respirators. So that's the level of innovation which is happening in the world today. So we will be very innovative, and for all the participants on this call, my advice is keep your eyes and ears open to all the innovations that are happening. Obviously, you'll be a part of it in the next couple of years or so. So that's a key driver. And the third and a very important aspect in this transformation is the technology that will come in our industry, in our business, the service sector. Praveen was talking about the no-touch effects. So it will be a great contributor, technology. We have been talking about technology over the last almost 10 years' time in our industry. It has been slow. We were still people-oriented and people-centric. It'll really gain speed, and because there will be a slight trust factor deficit, between our clients and our people. Clients will keep on looking at our people with certain amount of suspicion about how safe they are for us in our workplace. So technology is something which will lead. So these are the 3 areas of transformation. Keep your eyes, ears, and open for it. Read a lot about it. Google them. Some companies are really posting a lot of their strategies online so that their clients know about what these companies are doing. And once we reboot and once we rework, they know exactly what to look out. Yeah. So leading companies in our sector, we will find the balance among the now, next, and beyond. So that's the importance. That's the objective. So not going into the intricacies, a very holistic approach to our industry. A good time, not a good time, but a good time to innovate and to grow and to see what's required over the next decade and a half.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vyas. Before I open the panel discussion, and I would like everyone to post their questions so that I can ask them. I've got quite a few already. When you're talking about online, your on-site services to get a perspective in India for us in Muscat or in Oman. So, are you still working on what on-site services are you giving now
Yeah, I told you, we operate in different sectors. We operate largely in the corporate services. So if it's corporate services, it's the manufacturing sector, whether it's the automobile manufacturing or generator manufacturing. So it's a largely dense, populated companies. For example, Tata Motors in Jamshedpur employs almost 25,000 people in one plant of it. Maybe a Hyundai in Chennai employs almost equal 20,000 people in one plant of it. So what companies like the on-site services, what we do is we ensure the quality of life of all these 25,000 to 20,000 people in that plant is taken care of. In the sense, once they enter the plant, the areas are kept clean. The areas are kept disinfected. They have a good food while during their work. The complete food of things is taken care of. Laundry is taken care of. They wear their own uniforms and things. So first aid, medical things are taken care of. So these are all the services. Security is taken care of at every stage of the plant. So these are all the services which are not the core business of Tata Motors, for example. Their core business is making trucks and engines. So all these non-core activities are the services that these on-site services provide. So we operate with kitchens, large-size kitchens. We operate with laundries inside these plants.
So all these are operational even now.
They are all operational even now. The scale might have reduced. We are just waiting for these industries to reopen, which I'm sure will reopen very fast. The scale would have reduced a bit, but then yeah, it's a very situational scenario.
Right. What I do get from Mr. Vyas and Chef Praveen Shetty is that definitely, COVID is here to stay. So we need to look at what do we do next. We have a lot of faculties out here who influence their final year students. Obviously, what I'm getting from both of you all is transformation, technology, innovation in the existing scenario in the service sector is the next big thing. To final year students who are looking for job opportunities, what should they do now? Finally, it's next year or so to begin with. How do they take it forward for students of our management institute or of HM Institute? What do they do in the next 1 year to adapt to this change which is there? Because you all are working live in the sector. We are educationists out here. What tools do we give them?
So, in terms of the final year students, I think their curriculum has to include a lot of hygiene points. How they will have to work in the restaurants, and because if you are doing a front office class and you have taught them how you are going to receive a guest, it will change now. Now you will not take the guest to a front office area. You will take the guest to the room. So pre-check-in will happen in most of the cases. Once pre-check-in happens, the guest will directly go to the room. Someone will escort the guest to the room, and he will be filled up the forms in the room only. So there will be very less contact on the front desk. Similarly for housekeeping, how are we going to clean the rooms? All the SOPs will change. So for that, I think part-time jobs, trainings are very important. Maybe professors or teachers have to go to the hotels and see what are changing the procedures, changing policies, or in housekeeping, front office, kitchen, so that those things are inculcated to the students as well. Because what was pre-COVID was a regular SOP as to how to welcome a guest, how to seat a guest in the restaurant, how to meet him, how to say goodbye. Everything will change. The service will be personalized, but there will be social distancing. There will be a distance of 6 feet between every guest and the team member. So I think it will take some time for the students to understand, but also the hotels will take some time. Once the hotels open, they also follow some procedures and policies, and when it will come up. So for two things very important for colleges is that one is about training for their students and to learn what is happening. Second thing is to know on the job what is happening. And for students who are in the final year or who are going to pass out, don't wait for opportunities to come. Join any place, any restaurant, any catering, and get experience. Don't sit idle. If you sit idle for 6 months, you will sit idle for next 3 years, because there's a lot of staff crunch. People have left the places. Hotels have shut down, restaurants have shut down, and they are in complete closure. So whatever opportunities come your way, be it part-time, be it any hour, please go and join and brush up your skills. If you're out of line, then you are out of sight. Be in line of the job, be in line of industry, you will grow. Because don't look at money for next 2-3 years, because whoever is working right now in the industry, they have gone 5 years behind with a pay cut. Each and everyone is having a pay cut in the industry, overseas or India. This is the reality. So if you get an opportunity, please close your eyes and join the hotel, join a catering, join any hospitality industry next years.
That's well, Chetty, because you're giving us life happening in industry with certainly Conrad, etc. In Bangalore. Essentially, a lot of questions which we have posted to. What does, like, for example, so some kind of micro question. What about ingredients now? Even the next few months, recipes not be within your product, and with absolutely transport has come to a still, right? So again, it's innovation in a way, which we're going back to our roots. So one is hygiene, of course. What do you do with ingredients and products? Because we have to face it that it's going to be less accessible compared to before.
The question is good. So as chefs, as a creative person, you need to be very creative. Menus will not be stable. You will not find a menu on the table. You will have to go. You'll have to open your mobile. You'll have to scan a QR code. The menu will be in a phone. That's what I'm telling you. Everything is going to change. Restaurant is going to be completely changed. Technology is going to take over everything. You will not get a menu in your hand. Menus will change every day, weekly. Whatever ingredients are there in the market, menus will change accordingly. It will not be imported. It will be local stuffs. If you get imported, well and good. Don't get, change the menu. So menu will be made daily or weekly or monthly. And menus also for restaurants will not be in a hard bind. It will be soft copy. You go, you scan the QR code, and you have a menu on the mobile, and you order the dishes. This is what is going to happen. So in terms of ingredient also, if there's no ingredient, change the menu, change the dish. Simple as that. Because now, even if anyone goes as a guest, you also know the situation. You know what is happening in the market. You know what is happening in the country. You will not go and say, I want this Navajan salmon.
Right.
You have a local sea bus, you'll have a local. It depends now. It depends how, as a operational person, you handle situations, and it depends on how, as leaders, you take it, carry forward. But definitely, it'll not hamper so much. It depends on the person to person and his creativity, how he will take it forward.
True, because the thing is, we have to move forward. That goes for facility management company also, because the next big thing is hygiene, safety. Everybody says be safe, be hygiene. Somebody has to work towards it, right? Safety and hygiene also comes with somebody doing it for you. So maybe it's a good time for us to invest more on where we do have housekeeping as a department, but maybe in facility management company, how do we ensure? You've told about 15 touch points in hotels. That's fantastic. If you can share with us even now, it's a big educator for our faculty to tell their particular students. How do facility management companies, is there a big scope for our industry, for our students to get into this? Because we are looking at an era post-COVID now. So it's not, as you said, next 10, 15 years. How do we innovate in facility management company when it comes to safety and hygiene? And it's for all service sectors.
Yeah. So facility management companies, again, I still prefer it to call the outsourced services sector or the on-site services sector. We've got some, if it is India-centric, we've got the top 3 companies of the world operating in India, and they're doing a wonderful job. Whether it's Compass, which is a UK-based company, whether it's a Sodexo, which is a France-based company, or whether it's Elior. Elior is again, JLL, CBRE. So these are some of the great international companies which are operating. And there's quite a few Indian companies which have come up over the last 1 decade, and they're doing wonderful jobs. SIS or Quest Corp. So you need to do a small study on the various FM companies, integrated facility management companies operating in India. Now, these are the companies which would be partnering with the India Inc. in all the sectors, especially the corporate services and education. And they will be the one who will be leading these companies into making the workplaces safe. That includes IT, ITS, banking, finance. So across industries, these are the companies and these are the things who would be leading the way and who would be educating as to how to make the workplaces, safer and productive. Safety is very important. Productivity is equally important. Health and safety has been a primary objective while operating for all the FM companies across the globe. So that's always been the primary objective. A pandemic is unprecedented. So productivity and the requirements for the business to run the businesses will be slightly different. You've got TCS announcing just about yesterday, I think, in India, that almost 70% of their workforce, and that goes into lakhs, I would say, would be working from home. So what happens with their real estate? What happens with their offices? Who occupies them? There's quite a few of real estate that they own for themselves. Plenty of schools and universities would, depend upon online education. So what happens to the facilities of these things? So there are a lot of these questions which there's a debate about everything. There'll be a debate about everything post-COVID. Should I go to work? Shouldn't I go to work? Should I take my car? Should I pull in? So there's a question that will be asked at every given thing. It's not just about safety. It's about safety primarily, but it's also about productivity as well. The first time, companies have realized that working from home actually increases the productivity of people. They needn't come to the office. We've been talking about so much of, the IT sector, especially whether it's IBM, TCS, has studied its productivity over the last 2 months' time. They've realized that the productivity has increased by almost 30-35%. So all these factors would be playing a major part. And FM industry is a great place to be in during this time. I don't see, and I'll be very positive over here, I don't see any cut off services. Services will increase. Innovation will play a major part, that if we are doing 10 services today, we'll be doing 20 tomorrow. So services will increase, work will increase, and plenty of other things, So it's a great place to be in today. So yeah, it's a little bit more optimistic that I would be out for. It will be.
Thanks. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, please.
One last sentence. Sorry, Deepa. We do read a lot of things. We do study. I know there's plenty of highlights and plenty of figures on all the things which are depressing today. So my suggestion is that's fine. Everybody knows about it. It's all there on everywhere on the complete network. But I would suggest that we focus a little bit more about the positive parts of it going ahead. And FM is one such area which will play a major part in the complete revival of the economy over the next across the globe.
Thanks, Mr. Vyas. Actually, we have so many of almost representative of the fraternity of the colleges in Pune, and at somewhere I think if we would really like to reach out to FM so that we make our students, if not in the coming year, in couple of years, employable for the change in technology, which FM is looking at, because there's definitely services are required. And somebody has to man it. Even if there's technology, it has to be still manned by it. Coming back to Chef Praveen, a big question, not just because we're coming from an F&B sector. Biggest revenue is banquets. And India is known for its wedding season and New Year's party and theme lunches and dinner and corporate lunches. Now, with social distancing, what do we do then? I mean, there's one part of hygiene taken care of, safety taken care of, but how do you cater to bulk people now? What do you do? The whole focus changes because banquet is, and rooms are so interdependent in a hotel.
Yeah, banquets add as a major contributor to the revenue of the hotel. Also, the cost factor, banquet helps a lot to maintain cost as well. But I don't think in next 2-3 months after post-COVID, there will be huge parties or huge events happening because the government will restrict the events to 50 or maybe 60 or maybe 100 max to max. Because pre-COVID also in Bangalore, notification from the government, local government, that do not have events above 50 numbers or 50 or 60 packs. But going forward, after 2 months or 3 months, what will happen is that if you are putting a buffet of, suppose one buffet for 50 people, you will put 2 buffets. If you're putting 3 for 100, you put 6, 4, 5 buffets. You have to segregate people. You'll have to guide people to different counters. If you put a buffet, you will have to have servers also because no one will want to touch a ladle touched by someone else. So manpower will be required. So there are many factors. Also, buffet dining will become slowly, very, very less in terms of requests. It can be set menus or prepared dinner. So you will see a change. You will see a change. Maybe off the shelves, salads will be ready and guests will come and pick up. Maybe food will on the counter and they'll come and pick up. On that line will happen. But at least 2-3 months, there will be restrictions for 50 packs, 60 packs only event happening in the hotels. And if it's a higher event, you have to plan accordingly. If you have a smaller hall, you cannot take more than 100 people in the hall. Then, if you have a bigger hall, you can take people. Then you have more buffet counters, and you segregate people and have distancing among themselves. But it's a difficult phase. See, it's a difficult phase. It will have to be dealt very, very nicely, humanly. Hotels will try to take banquet events as it is revenue generating, but they also want to risk it. Just imagine if the hotel compromises and takes a bigger event and they're not able in case hotel name on 14 days, 15 days, again everyone has to scan. Revenue calculate for hotels once, really does is right, make the SOPs right, make sure to remove hands of skills and make sure with the now. You have to live with it. It's your finance, live with it.
Chef, again a question, and this is for both. Know that it'll take us 3 or 4 months, few months to reboot, and as an academia, we are speaking, we don't want to be too far because we cannot be teaching what is non-existent in the market. People like you who are working in the industry already feel that overnight things are going to change. Banquet being a revenue generation today has become the other way around. You need to figure out other ways of generating revenue in F&B. Similarly in facility management company. And therefore what we teach, we've been teaching the same thing also for last few years, is that so is where we feel now that yes, technology innovation is there somewhere because you're at a higher level, executive chef in one of the premier groups, Conrad, similarly in a service sector company. Is there somewhere that there can be a liaison where you need manpower and that we can start something, or what the change in mindset of hotels when they decide? Can it also be that you can tell us what we need to do or to update ourselves or what we should teach our students? It could be curriculum based or practical based, because otherwise our students for the next 2 or 3 years will have a tough time to be part of any sector to begin with. And is entrepreneurship a big thing? Is it a good thing now? Small restaurants will close, chef, but is it a good time to also think differently for students because food is still required? People who take away will still take away food. Companies will still require food to be cooked by somebody and served to its employee. Or in our sector, which is very human touch, we don't work like TCS where we can work online. We still have the human factor, which has been a plus point. How do we change that? How do we get our plus point back in this scenario? And the last 2 minutes, I'm going to unmute everyone so that we can have some live questions from others too, though we've been getting questions out here. And also bar, how does beverage industry gain from this? Maybe that's something which could work well in this particular scenario. Online takeaways, hotels can do that, companies can do that. Does it work?
No, right now, online takeaway is only a source of what is happening overall in India and overseas as well. If you see, Swiggy, Zomato have taken over now 5-star hotels. They are supporting them. People call them disruptors of 5-star hotels, hotel industry, because they took the revenue and gave it to the standalone restaurants. But now 5-star hotels have turned to Swiggy and Zomato and helping them to serve the takeaway food and helping them to serve their food in this time of crisis. So this is one point. And second point about colleges, institutions, and hotel management schools, how they will cope up with this is that I think as a college or as an institute, you have to changes that happen. You have to align with the agencies, with industrial caterings or with facilities, and spend some time there, a week or 2 weeks, and understand what changes have happened. And then you have to train the students over there in your college or in an institute what they need to understand. Apart from that, I think hygiene classes have to be in more line with the curriculum, because a lot of hygiene initiatives happen in the 5-star hotels, and it is not added cost. I saw a question in the group as to how will you cope with the added cost. It's not an added cost to hotels; it's cost to maybe standalone restaurants. That's the reason people will move away from standalone and move to 5-star hotels, because 5-star hotels already have a lot of hygiene and SOPs and hygiene practices in place, be it sanitizing vegetables, be it hand wash, be it sanitizing tables, be it sanitizing the room, be it sanitizing the vehicle. It's already happening in place already, but it will have to be told to guests. It is not added cost to anyone. It is that's the thing of a hotel, right? We are here to serve hygienic and good food, not only just serve good tasty food. Good tasty food can be had in dhaba also. So that's why we are educated people. We have to serve hygienic and good food to the guest, and it's a good stay as well. So I think it will not be added cost, but hygiene will play a big curriculum in terms of to students to study before they go to the industry. For that, no need to have a subject as such. You can involve, as I told you, hygiene managers across hotels, hygiene managers in facilities. There are in a hotel we have a hygiene lab. Okay, from pre-opening in Hilton Chennai I worked, we had in Grand Hyatt I worked, we had it in Conrad Pune I worked, we had it. So we have hygiene lab every event where there are more than 25 guests. The hygiene manager comes, she picks up the food sample and keeps it for 1 day. In case there's any allegation, in case someone comes up and says someone not feeling well, we have the sample in the hotel, we check it. So this is happening, but these people don't know. It's our responsibility to educate the guests that this is what we do. We have a hygiene lab. My hygiene manager comes and checks my hygiene, and she has a small fingers, and she takes the next report. So this is happening already, but people don't know about this. So only when you enter training, play a big role. Hygiene play a big role in the hotel. I guess that this is what we are.
That's a great concept. I think a lot of have many labs in labs, because then we can have SOPs for various departments. At least you know what to look for, because the sense of hygiene, we have a long way to go to make customers comfortable on that particular point. Again, comes back to question about what about trainings now? Because industrial training was